to another exciting edition of Hot Takes with me, your host, Zach Gardner, Chief Architect here, Keyhole Software. My hot take is that there is only one correct way to represent time zones and times in general in web development. Now, many like you, I'm a corporeal being. I can only exist in one particular time zone at a time, and that's okay. Where it gets complicated is that we need to represent these times in terms of something that a computer will understand. And no matter how hard we try, as humans, philosophically, we will always be imposing our view, our limited view of what a time is upon the universe. So we will always get it wrong. I have not seen a single library. I have not seen a single language that appropriately addresses time in all these weird scenarios that we've had to come up with. So as an architect, I try to take that to heart. I take this as a limitation of our understanding. We can send people to the moon, we can send rovers up to Mars, but we still struggle in every single project I've ever been on of appropriately representing time, especially dates of birth. I was born on a very specific day. What time zone was I born in? I've never seen that represented on any application. I've only ever seen the date. Well, that time when I was born is actually a different date depending upon where you are in the world. I know, it stinks. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done. So as an architect, the way that I get around it is, one, I'm kind of a jerk about it, but I'm only a jerk about it because it's really, really hard. I make sure that when we store dates, and I typically like to start with the database whenever I do any architecture, when we store dates, they must be stored as UTC. On our middleware, when we pull dates out of a database or push dates in, we must represent them in UTC. On our API layer, when we take in dates or when we produce dates and times, they must be in UTC. The user interfaces that we use, be it a mobile application, be it a service-to-service call, be it a web application, it must send and it must receive the date in UTC. The only time when we are allowed to convert from UTC to the user's local time zone is when we're actually displaying something to the user. This does require that we know what the user's current time zone is. And it does require that every single time we display, we have to call some sort of function that takes in the UTC date and time and then returns what the actual date and time is of that UTC date in the user's local time zone. Now this works 85% of the time. The other 15% of the time is where we want simply a date. We don't care about the time, we just want a date. In that scenario, I try to strip off everything I can about the time and only include the year, the month, and the day. Now, there are some gotchas to this, especially once we get to the year 9,999, December 31st, we're going to have a year Y2K problem, except it's going to be a Y10K problem. But you know what? Let's not fool ourselves. The software that we write today will not be in use in that year. So stop trying to make things so future friendly that we can somehow use them even when human beings have gone beyond our solar system. Your CRM, your ERP, whatever it is that you're writing, will not be used in that year. So take advantage of that fact. Allow for the fact that software eventually will degrade and will be replaced. And use dates and times appropriately. So that's my hot take. When you store date and times, when you transmit date and times, when you do anything with date and times, do it in UTC, except when you're displaying it to the user, display it in their local time zone. And then, if you have something that's a date, store it as a string. Don't try to get creative with it. No library, no framework, no language I've ever used does this appropriately. Lean into that, accept that fact, and present date and times as they were meant to be, and store them in a consistent UTC format. If you agree with me, and you've lived through this pain before, you know exactly what I'm talking about, shoot me a comment below. If you disagree with me, and you think that date and time should be stored in the user's time zone, I would really like to talk to you because I really think you need to be convinced of this otherwise. So use the feedback up here and let me know what you think, and I promise you I will come to it with an open mind. So again, Zach Gardner, Chief Architect here at Keyhole Software, and this has been my hot take for the day.